Before we begin, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell. More medieval stories are coming soon. And tell me in the comments, do you think mercy should come before punishment or after it? The torches hissed against the damp stone walls. Evelyn felt every stare as she was led into the old hall. The place where pride was tested and broken. On the table ahead lay a single white feather, glowing in the torchlight like something alive. She had mocked the steward's men in the market, calling them thieves. Now, the whole village came to see if the miller's daughter would still laugh after the feather trial. Clara, the prior's assistant, stood tall beside the wooden bench. "Evelyn Marin," she said, "you have spoken without proof. You will now learn whether your words were courage or vanity." 2 attendants guided Evelyn to lie down. No chains, no whips, only leather straps across her arms and legs. The hall went silent. The air felt thick enough to swallow. Evelyn forced herself to smirk. "If this is meant to scare me, it's failing." Clara's calm voice cut through the room. "This is not meant to scare you. It's meant to show what's inside you." Margaret brought the feather, long, soft, terrifying in its gentleness. Evelyn's pulse quickened. "We begin," Clara said. The first touch slid along her palm. Evelyn twitched, then gasped, laughter bursting from her throat before she could stop it. The crowd stirred. Whispers. A few chuckles. She clenched her jaw, furious. "Why did you shout in the square?" Clara asked. "Because they were stealing," Evelyn snapped. The feather traced her arm again. A trembling laugh broke loose, echoing through the hall. She couldn't fight it. Her pride was cracking, one helpless giggle at a time. Clara leaned closer. "Or did you shout because you wanted to be heard?" Evelyn froze. The next touch along her ribs tore through her composure. She laughed and gasped at once, tears springing to her eyes. "Stop, please." "Truth first," Clara whispered. "Then we stop." Evelyn's voice shook. "I shouted because no one listens unless I do." Clara's eyes softened. "There. That is truth." The feather stopped. The crowd exhaled. Evelyn lay still, humiliated, trembling, but lighter somehow. Then Clara turned toward the steward. "Her trial is not done, for truth demands proof." Suddenly, the great doors slammed open. A gust of cold air blew the torches sideways. A cloaked stranger stepped inside, voice ringing through the hall. "Stop the ritual. I have proof. The steward's men truly stole the grain." The hall erupted. Clara froze, feather still hovering in the air. Evelyn's eyes widened. Was this salvation or something far worse? Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and drop a comment. Do you think Evelyn deserves freedom after what she said, or must she face the full punishment first? The hall froze. The cloaked stranger stood in the doorway, dripping rain, clutching a torn ledger to his chest. His eyes burned, not with fear, but with urgency. "The steward's men have been stealing," he cried. "Here's the proof." Gasps filled the chamber. The steward's face turned pale, then hard as iron. "Who are you to storm this hall?" he barked. The stranger threw back his hood. "Thomas, son of the grain counter. You dismissed me last month for asking where the missing sacks went." Clara lowered the feather, the torchlight flickering across her calm but wary face. "Bring the book forward," she ordered. Guards hesitated. The hall was no longer united. Half the crowd leaned forward, whispering in disbelief. Evelyn strained against her straps, eyes wide. "You're saying I was right?" she breathed. Thomas opened the ledger with shaking hands. The inked columns told everything: false entries, extra tolls, and the steward's seal beside them. A ripple of outrage moved through the benches like wind over dry leaves. The steward slammed his fist on the table. "Forgery! Lies! But Clara's voice cut through the noise. Enough. She turned to Evelyn. You spoke truth, even when your proof was not yet seen. That makes your pride dangerous, but not false. For the first time, Evelyn didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Her body still trembled from the feather's torment, but her heart pounded with something new. Vindication. Clara looked between the two. The trial cannot end in chaos. Thomas, if your proof stands, the steward will answer before the prior at dawn, but Evelyn's own trial must continue. Evelyn's head snapped up. Continue. You just saw. Truth of the world, Clara said softly, is not the same as truth of the soul. The attendants stepped forward. The crowd went silent again. Even Thomas hesitated, caught between relief and horror. Wait, what are you doing? He shouted. Clara's tone remained calm, almost gentle. Her anger may have been righteous, but pride rides close behind justice, and both must bow to humility. Evelyn's wrists were retied. She didn't resist this time, only stared at Clara with disbelief. You're not finished humiliating me. Clara met her gaze. No, we're finished when you can laugh without pride or fear. The hall darkened as torches guttered in the draught. The feather gleamed again, catching the trembling light. Margaret stood ready beside Clara, her face unreadable. Pity and duty at war. Thomas took a step forward. You can't, she's proved herself. 2 guards blocked his way. He shouted again, but his voice drowned in the rising chants of the villagers, half calling for mercy, half demanding completion. Evelyn looked toward him, a tear sliding down her cheek. Go, she whispered. If I stop now, they'll say I hid behind you. Clara's voice softened. Then endure once more, Evelyn Marin. Let laughter become truth, not defiance. The feather descended toward her ribs again. Slower this time, almost reverent. The first touch drew a shiver from deep inside her chest, and then laughter burst forth, raw, unguarded. No rage, no denial, just release. And then, above the laughter, came a sound that silenced the hall. A sword being drawn. Thomas stood, with the steward's own blade in his hands. Then, I'll end this ritual myself, he said, voice trembling. The torches flared as guards rushed forward. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe, and tell me in the comments, if truth is revealed through pain, is it still justice? The sound of steel sliced through the air. Thomas stood before the crowd, holding the steward's sword, his face pale but unshaken. Enough, he shouted. You'll not hurt her again. The hall erupted. Screams, gasps, the thud of boots. Guards lunged forward. Evelyn twisted in her straps, panic rising. The torchlight flashed against the blade, painting Thomas in gold and blood red. Clara didn't move. Her calm cut deeper than any shout. Lay down that sword, Thomas. This hall seeks truth, not blood. The truth is right here, he cried, pointing at the steward. He stole from the people, she spoke it, and you still torment her. The steward's voice thundered from the dais. Seize him. 2 guards rushed in. Thomas swung, not to kill, but to scare. Sparks flew as steel clashed against armor. The villagers screamed, pressed back against the walls. The hall that once held whispers now shook with chaos. Evelyn struggled against her cuffs. Thomas, don't. He turned to her, eyes fierce but desperate. I won't let them touch you again. Please, she gasped, tears streaking her face. If you fight, you prove them right. They'll call you a criminal, like me. For a heartbeat, he hesitated. That was all it took. Clara raised her hand. Stop. Her voice froze the room. Even the guards paused. The steward scowled, but dared not overrule her. Not before witnesses, not with the prior's emblem hanging above. She stepped between Thomas and the guards, her dark robe rippling in the torchlight. "Violence will not rewrite truth," she said softly. "Only courage will." Thomas's chest heaved. Slowly, he lowered the blade. The steel clanged against the floor. The echo lingered like thunder after a storm. Clara looked at Evelyn, still bound to the bench, trembling. Her trial isn't pain, it's understanding. But perhaps, Thomas, your arrival is part of that test too. The crowd murmured. Some nodded. Some looked away, ashamed. The steward broke the silence. "So? What now, sister? You will let this rebel stand in my hall with a stolen sword and no punishment?" Clara's eyes turned toward him, cold, piercing. "No. We will give him the same trial. The feather of truth touches all who claim righteousness." The hall gasped. Evelyn's eyes widened. "No, he did nothing wrong." Clara shook her head. "He raised steel in a holy place. But if his cause is pure, the feather will forgive him." Margaret stepped forward, lifting the feather again, its white plumes swaying in the heated air. Thomas looked between them, confusion, defiance, fear. But at last he nodded. "Then do it. If truth demands it, I won't run." Evelyn's voice broke. "Clara, please. He only tried to save me." Clara met her gaze. "Then let us see what kind of salvation truth allows." She gestured. The attendants untied Evelyn and helped her sit up. Her wrists burned where the straps had been. Clara turned to Thomas. "Kneel." "Tight." He obeyed. The hall grew silent once more. The feather hovered above his hand. For a long moment, no one breathed. Then Clara whispered, "Truth or pride?" The feather descended, and as it brushed his palm, Thomas's breath caught. A tremor passed through him, and his expression changed. The hall leaned closer. Evelyn frowned. "Thomas?" He raised his head slowly, voice shaking. It wasn't just the steward." The room stiffened. "What?" Clara asked. Thomas swallowed hard. "Others. The prior's men too. The theft goes deeper." The prior himself rose from the high seat, his face white as chalk. "You dare!" But Thomas's eyes were wild now, the truth spilling like blood. "You ordered it hidden. The ledgers were burned." Gasps erupted. Clara dropped the feather, stunned. The hall dissolved into uproar, guards shouting, villagers crying out, and the steward's voice booming in rage. Evelyn grabbed Thomas's arm. "What have you done?" He turned to her, trembling. "The truth, all of it." The prior's voice thundered. "Seize them both." And the guards moved. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button, and tell me in the comments. When truth burns everything around you, do you run from it? Or through it? The hall exploded into chaos. Guards lunged forward, swords clashing, benches toppling. The feather lay forgotten on the floor, trampled beneath boots. Clara shouted for calm, but her voice was drowned by the roar of fear and fury. Evelyn grabbed Thomas's wrist. "Run!" They bolted toward the side corridor, ducking as a torch crashed behind them. Sparks scattered like fireflies across the stone. The heavy doors slammed shut. The steward's men were sealing the exit. "Through the chapel!" Evelyn shouted. She had played in these halls as a child. She knew their veins and shadows. They sprinted down a narrow passage, torches flickering behind them. Thomas's breath came ragged. "Evelyn, if they catch us." "They won't," she snapped, though her lungs burned. "Not before the truth spreads." The sound of pursuit echoed closer. Boots striking stone, armor clanging. Evelyn pulled Thomas through a small archway into the side chapel. Moonlight streamed through stained glass, painting them in blue and gold. She slammed the iron latch just as fists pounded the other side. For a heartbeat. Silence. Then Thomas sank to his knees, clutching the ledger. "They'll destroy this," he said, voice trembling. "They'll say I forged it." Evelyn crouched beside him, her face lit by the candlelight. "Then we find Clara. She saw enough. She can stop them." Thomas looked up, doubt in his eyes. "Can she? She serves the same prior." Evelyn's expression hardened. "Then, she'll have to choose what kind of faith she believes in." Outside, the pounding grew louder. The latch began to crack. Evelyn scanned the chapel. A narrow window, too high. A door to the crypt, half buried in dust. "This way." They pulled the old door open, descending into the dark. The air grew colder, heavy with the smell of stone and centuries. Thomas held the single candle. "Evelyn, if we don't make it, don't finish that," she hissed. "We didn't come this far to die in the dark." A sudden clatter above, voices shouting orders. "Search the lower halls." Evelyn pressed her ear to the stone. "They're splitting up. We have minutes." Thomas opened the ledger again, flipping through the ink-stained pages. "If we can reach the village square by dawn, show this to the people, then truth wins," Evelyn finished. But before hope could rise, a soft voice echoed through the crypt. "You won't make it that far." They froze. From the shadows stepped Clara, her torch low, her face unreadable. "You were never meant to see how deep the lies go," she said quietly. "But now that you have..." Evelyn's heart pounded. "Clara, please, you saw the ledger. Help us." Clara's eyes glimmered in the firelight. "I want to. But the prior already knows you fled. He sent riders. If I'm seen with you, I burn too." Thomas stepped forward, desperate. "Then choose, Clara. What do you serve? Their fear or the truth?" For a moment, Clara said nothing. Then she blew out her torch, plunging the crypt into darkness. "Follow me," she whispered. "But if we're caught, I never knew you." She led them through a hidden tunnel, narrow and twisting, the candle's flame barely holding. Above them, the sounds of the search faded, replaced by distant bells ringing an alarm. They emerged into cold night air behind the abbey walls, mist curling like smoke. The moon hung high, pale, watchful. Evelyn looked back toward the glowing hall. "They'll hunt us," Clara nodded. "Then run faster than their faith." And just as they turned toward the woods, the church bell tolled again. Louder, urgent. Flames began to rise from the hall behind them. The Feather Trials chamber was burning. Thomas froze. "They're destroying everything. The ledgers, the proof." Evelyn grabbed his hand. "Then the truth lives only in us now." They ran into the dark forest, chased by fire, by guilt, and by the echo of the bell that once called people to prayer. Before we begin, make sure you're subscribed, and tell me in the comments. When the truth finally costs everything, is it still worth it? The forest was cold and silent. Evelyn's bare feet slipped on wet leaves as the first light of dawn bled into the mist. Behind her, the abbey's bell tolled one last time before collapsing into silence. The Hall of Judgment gone, burned with its lies. Thomas stumbled beside her, clutching the half-burned ledger. Smoke still clung to his cloak. "They'll come after us," he gasped. "They won't stop." Evelyn looked toward the rising sun. "Then we speak before they find us." They reached the edge of the village square, just as the light broke over the rooftops. Farmers, traders, children, everyone had come out, drawn by the smoke and the rumors. Whispers rippled through the crowd. They escaped. They burned the hall. They killed the truth. Clara emerged from the fog behind them, hood drawn low. "You have one chance," she whispered. "Say it loud enough that even fear hears it." Evelyn climbed onto the stone well, her voice hoarse but steady. "The feather trial is over," she cried. "They burn it to hide their guilt, not ours." The crowd stirred. Thomas raised the charred ledger high. Here is what they feared. Proof of their theft, their lies, their false mercy. A murmur turned to shouting. The stewardsmen, arriving on horseback, froze as the villagers closed ranks around Evelyn and Thomas. Pitchforks lifted, eyes blazing with something stronger than anger. Belief. Clara stood apart, hands trembling inside her sleeves. She had broken her vows, but in that moment, she looked almost free. Evelyn took a deep breath. "They tried to break us with laughter," she said, voice rising. "But laughter isn't weakness, it's truth trying to breathe. They thought the feather would silence me. Instead," she lifted the fallen feather from Thomas's belt. The same one from the ritual, blackened at the tip by fire. "It reminded me that truth is soft only until it touches power." The wind caught the feather, and it drifted upward, spinning in the sunlight, glowing like a shard of hope. The crowd followed it with their eyes. Silent, united. Behind them, the steward's horse reared, the man shouting orders no one obeyed. The people had already chosen. Clara turned away, whispering a prayer not to the church, but to courage itself. Thomas leaned closer to Evelyn. "You did it," he said quietly. "They'll remember your name." Evelyn shook her head. "Not my name, the truth." The sun broke fully over the hills then, flooding the square in gold. The smoke from the ruined hall rose like incense, curling into the sky. The feather of truth, once a tool of control, had become a symbol of freedom. Evelyn dropped it gently into the well. "Let it rest," she said. "The truth doesn't need trials anymore." The crowd stood in silence, not cheering, not weeping, just feeling the weight of what had ended and what had begun. Clara looked back one last time. "Go," she whispered, "before they remember fear." Evelyn and Thomas turned toward the forest road. The sun warmed their faces as they walked, each step lighter than the last. Behind them, bells began to ring again. Not for punishment, but for awakening. The truth had survived. And for the first time, laughter sounded not from torment, but from peace. And remember, the stories we tell, and the ones we listen to, shape who we are. So take the lesson, carry it with you, and keep growing. Because even in the darkest moments, there's always something to learn, and a better version of ourselves waiting on the other side. If this story touched you, leave a like, drop a comment, and share it with someone who needs it. Let's spread these messages, one heart at a time. See you in the next story.